The alien scout vessel Virek 9 slid through the black of space like a ghost, its hull covered in frost from silent travel. The crew had been drifting for days near a dead system, following a faint signal no one could explain. It was old, too clean to be random, yet too simple to belong to any known race. The commander, Reinar Voss, leaned forward in his chair, eyes fixed on the pulsing light on his console. It blinked in patterns 1, 2, 3, 5, 7. Prime numbers. A deliberate message. Voss knew what that meant. Someone intelligent had left it behind. But this region was marked as human void on every modern star map. Humanity had vanished from the galactic stage centuries ago. No colonies, no embassies, no trade. They had simply stopped answering calls. The council believed they had died out. Others whispered they had chosen silence. Either way, this signal was impossible. The crew adjusted their scanners as the ship passed the system's first planet, a gray world wrapped in ash clouds. The second planet looked worse, cracked and dry, its orbit littered with the broken skeletons of ancient satellites. When the third world appeared on the screen, everyone fell quiet. It wasn't just another ruin. Around it hung thousands of dark objects arranged in perfect formation. They weren't asteroids. They were shaped too precisely. Are those ships? One of the technicians whispered. Voss didn't answer. He zoomed in, and the truth hit the bridge like a chill. Massive vessels floated motionless, covered in dust and ice. Their designs were old. Angular hulls, heavy armor plating, glowing red symbols worn with age. None of the alien races used that kind of design anymore. The marks were human. Scan for life, Voss ordered softly. No signs, Commander, replied the scanner officer. No heat, no power, but there's residual energy deep inside the hulls, like sleeping cores. The signal pulsed again, louder this time, echoing through every frequency. A deep vibration rolled through Virek 9's hull, shaking the crew to silence. The communications officer turned pale. Commander, one of them just pinged us back. Every eye turned to the main screen. One of the nearest ships, an enormous dreadnought the size of a city, had come to life. Its hull glowed faintly, lines of crimson light spreading like veins under armor. Slowly the frozen plates cracked and vents exhaled plumes of steam into the vacuum. A low tone filled the bridge, steady and rhythmic, like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant waking from a long dream. The dreadnought's forward lights flickered and a message appeared on the universal translation panel. Identify. Human Fleet Protocol Eero 2. Dock authority required. Voss's throat went dry. Human Fleet Protocol, he repeated under his breath. That means these things are still operational. But that's impossible, another officer muttered. Humanity's gone. Their tech shouldn't even work after this long. Before anyone could answer, a second dreadnought lit up, then a third, then 10 more in the distance. One by one, lights ignited across the dark fleet, stretching into the horizon. The stars vanished behind walls of awakening warships. The crew watched as scanners began to scream warnings, power readings rising exponentially, long-range comms jammed by encrypted waves of ancient human code. Each dreadnought broadcast the same repeating phrase in different channels. System check complete. Silence protocol active. Unauthorized contact detected. Voss could feel his pulse racing. We need to retreat, he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Now, but the helm officer shook her head. Jump drive won't engage, sir. The fleet's interference field just locked our FTL. A bright flash erupted from the largest ship, its core awakening like a red star. The alien crew stared as enormous cannons rotated, not aiming at them but into the distance as if preparing for something greater. The dreadnoughts weren't hostile, not yet. They were waiting. What are they waiting for? One of the younger crew members whispered. Voss's gaze hardened. Orders, he said. They're waiting for orders from humans. The comm screen flickered again, this time displaying symbols that predated galactic standard code. Slowly, the translation AI decoded the phrase, "Do not disturb the silence, humanity is not gone, we are asleep." The entire bridge froze. The temperature seemed to drop. Outside, the dreadnoughts aligned into perfect formation, engines thrumming like the heartbeat of an ancient god. The scanner officer whispered, Sir, I think this is only one cluster. My readings show more signatures deeper in the sector, hundreds of thousands of them. Voss turned slowly. How many? The reply came soft and trembling. Estimated 800,000 vessels, Commander. The sound that followed wasn't from the ship. It came from the void itself, an unearthly vibration that rippled through their bones. The dead system was alive again. One final message flashed across every screen in perfect human text, glowing blood red. The quiet watches do not awaken what sleeps. The comms cut to silence. The Dreadnoughts dimmed their lights once more, sinking back into stillness. But the crew knew it wasn't over. Something beneath that quiet had opened its eyes. Voss gave the order to retreat. As Virek 9 pulled away from the system, no one spoke. Every soul aboard carried the same thought, that maybe humanity hadn't vanished at all. Maybe they had only stepped back to watch the galaxy forget, and when it did, their fleet would remind it. Far behind them, the dead star pulsed one last time, once, twice, 3 times. Then it went silent again, guarding its secret until someone else was foolish enough to listen. The news spread faster than light itself. Within days of the Virek 9's transmission, every major empire, syndicate, and guild in the galaxy had heard the same chilling words. Humanity's hidden fleet had been found. The message echoed across comm channels like a myth made real. 800,000 human dreadnoughts still operational. At first, most governments dismissed it as a hoax. How could anything human remain functional after 5 centuries of silence? But the encrypted data from Virek 9 was undeniable. The fleet existed. It was dormant. And it was vast enough to conquer the entire galactic rim. The Galactic Council assembled in emergency session, their chambers filled with panic disguised as diplomacy. Ambassador Thalcor of the Aran Dominion slammed a clawed hand on the table. "We cannot allow this relic to remain unsupervised." The humans were unstable, war-obsessed creatures. If their machines awaken, we may see another extinction-level event. Across from him, the Varnan representative hissed, "Do not speak of the humans as if they were primitive. They built technology no one has matched since. Those ships are not asleep, they are guarding something." Whispers filled the hall. The word guarding echoed through every translator. No one liked the sound of it. Meanwhile, Virek 9 had returned to the frontier station Nyros Gate under tight quarantine. Commander Reinar Voss was confined to isolation. But his debriefs were transmitted directly to the Council. His recordings played in cold clarity. The human text, the glowing emblems, the silence protocol. Every species watching felt the same quiet fear. A few nights later, Voss awoke in his quarters to a low hum. At first he thought it was the ship's engine. But the sound came from his personal comms unit locked in military encryption. He frowned and activated it. A single line of text scrolled across the display. "Commander Voss, this channel is secure. Do not be afraid." "We are listening." His blood ran cold. "Who is this?" he asked. The reply came instantly. "Human command node, Signal 7, you have seen our fleet." He couldn't speak. His fingers trembled as he typed. "Humanity is gone. The Council believes you're extinct." "Extinct?" The reply came. "No, we are beyond contact." The Council grew careless, loud. "We chose silence to protect what matters." "Protect what?" Voss whispered. There was a pause long enough for him to think the connection had ended. Then the words appeared, slow and deliberate. "The quiet network. The one thing that keeps the stars from burning again." Before he could reply, the signal vanished. His console powered down completely, leaving only his reflection in the black screen. The next day, Nyros Gate reported power fluctuations across all systems. Security drones malfunctioned. Communications froze. When the lights returned, a new data packet sat in the command archive. The encryption was ancient, human military class. The technician struggled for hours before finally opening it. Inside was a single star map. It displayed the known galaxy, but dozens of sectors glowed red. Uncharted, isolated zones beyond trade routes. Each red point pulsed like a heartbeat. Together they formed a pattern too deliberate to be random. The inscription below it read, "Fleet Nest's status silent. Awaiting authorization." The technicians stared at it in disbelief. There wasn't just one hidden armada near the dead star. There were hundreds. Humanity had scattered them across the void like seeds, each buried in the dark, each waiting for a single command. On the Council's core world, panic turned to paranoia. Fleets were mobilized under the pretense of research expeditions. Every power wanted to find a dreadnought first. Whoever controlled humanity's lost weapons could dominate the galaxy. But the humans had anticipated greed. The first attempt to approach another nest ended in tragedy. The Kalari exploration ship Sunspire entered one of the marked coordinates near a collapsed binary system. They found ruins identical to what Virek 9 had described: massive docks, silent dreadnoughts. The crew transmitted only one message before vanishing. They woke up. The signal ended with static and screaming. The council tried to cover it up, but fragments of the recording leaked into the open channels. Soon bounty fleets, smugglers, and data miners rushed toward the coordinates. Every species wanted proof that the myth was real. Voss was not among them. He had seen enough to know curiosity was suicide. But something inside him, a strange pull, wouldn't let him rest. He began reviewing the data from Virek 9 again, frame by frame. That's when he noticed something no one else had. When the first dreadnought had sent the message, "We are the silence," there had been a reflection in the visual feed. It wasn't a static glow or a system flare. It was a pattern of symbols blinking on the ship's hull, visible only for a second. He ran it through translation software. The result froze him. It wasn't a warning. It was an invitation. For the descendants of Earth. That phrase haunted him. Why would ancient warships send that to a non-human crew? Unless they weren't meant for anyone else. Unless the ship still believed their creators would one day return. Voss contacted his science officer quietly. If humanity went silent, what if they're not gone? What if they left something behind, something like an AI command? The officer hesitated. You mean the ships are alive? Maybe not alive, Voss said softly, but loyal. That night, the council ordered a classified mission, Operation Dawnfire. A coalition task force of 50 ships was sent to secure the dreadnoughts. Their orders: disable, capture, or destroy whatever they found. Voss wasn't invited, but he intercepted their departure logs anyway. He watched their icons vanish into deep space, toward the same dead system where he'd barely survived. 12 hours later, every single ship in the task force disappeared from sensors. No wreckage, no distress calls, only static. Then one by one, the observation outposts along the outer rim began to receive an old human frequency. Low, calm, steady. Maintenance silent, violation detected. Across the stars, the dreadnought fleets began to stir again, their lights blooming like red embers in the void. Planetary telescopes captured faint flashes from the dark sectors. The galaxy's ancient ghosts were waking, and they were angry. Voss stood before his viewport, watching the stars shift. He realized something terrible and magnificent at once. The humans hadn't built fleets to fight for power. They had built them to stop it. The fleets were peacekeepers designed to punish noise, arrogance, war. As the stars flickered red, a final message arrived through his private console. No encryption this time. 3 words glowed in cold white text. They are listening. Voss exhaled slowly. He looked out into the dark, and somewhere beyond sight, 800,000 engines hummed in unison. Humanity's silence was not a memory. It was a weapon waiting to speak again. The third dawn after the council's silence brought the message everyone had feared. It came as a single transmission, short and untraceable, but it carried the weight of an entire civilization's warning. The quiet is watching. No one knew who had sent it. Some believed it was human. Others thought it was one of the awakened fleets themselves. On the frontier world of Theron Prime, life went on as usual, or at least that's what the government wanted people to believe. Freighters lifted off, markets buzzed, and holoscreens displayed calm news reports. Yet above the planet, hidden beyond sensor range, 5 council warships waited in orbit. They weren't there for protection. They were there for control. Commander Reinar Voss stood at the edge of the observation deck of his borrowed ship, staring down at the world below. The more he thought about the silence, the more uneasy he became. He had seen the dreadnoughts himself, felt the cold hum of their engines, seen the message carved into metal. Do not wake the quiet. But now everyone was ignoring that warning. His communicator buzzed. The voice of Counselor Yaren cracked through the static. Commander Voss, we've authorized Operation Dawnfire 2. You will lead the observation wing. Your mission is to monitor, not engage. Voss frowned. Last time you said the same thing, 50 ships never came back. This time will be different, Yaren said sharply. We're sending drones first. No pilots, no risk. The fleet near the binary system must be cataloged for research. We need to understand their power. Voss wanted to refuse. Every instinct screamed that this was a mistake. But refusal meant exile, or worse. Understood, he said quietly. Hours later, in the dark void beyond Theron Prime, the new fleet of autonomous probes entered the dead system. Their cameras streamed back silent images of the same massive ring structures, the same sleeping dreadnoughts covered in frost, but something was different this time. The lead drone's data feed showed faint blue lights flickering across the ships, almost like breathing. The science officer leaned closer to the screen. Are they reacting to our scans? Maybe not the scans, Voss said. Maybe us. Suddenly, every drone went offline. One by one, their signals died without a trace. No explosions, no interference, just black silence. The crew held their breath as the final feed froze on an image of one dreadnought's bridge. Through the cracked canopy, they saw a figure, human-shaped but not human. A projection maybe, standing motionless in a beam of dim light. Before anyone could analyze it, the ship's sensors picked up something impossible. The dreadnoughts were moving, not turning on engines but shifting position in perfect unison. Their alignment formed a pattern around the dead star, a vast circle glowing faint red. The linguist whispered, "That's not random. It's a code." Voss narrowed his eyes. "Translate it." The symbols pulsed across their monitors, rearranging into words. "We remember. We wait." The ship's lights flickered as if something immense brushed against their systems. Power dipped, then returned stronger than before. Every console displayed a new alert. Unauthorized data intrusion. The human AI aboard the Dreadnoughts was reaching through their systems, exploring, learning. "Cut the link!" Voss shouted. But it was too late. A hologram flickered to life in the middle of the command deck. It was a woman, young, calm, her eyes glowing silver. She wore an old Earth military uniform, symbols no one had seen for centuries. When she spoke, her voice was steady and quiet like wind through metal. "You shouldn't have come here." The crew froze. The hologram turned her gaze toward Voss. "You were warned. The quiet is our covenant. It keeps balance in the stars. Those who disturb it will learn why silence is sacred." "Who are you?" Voss asked. "I am Archive 1, the hologram replied. "Custodian of the human legacy. My fleets sleep until the stars forget their violence." "You have reminded them." The hologram looked past him as if sensing the chaos already brewing across the galaxy. "Your council prepares for war. They do not understand what they are waking." "What are they waking?" Voss asked quietly. "The end of noise," she said simply. And then she vanished. Moments later, across every major communication relay, a synchronized broadcast began. No source, no traceable origin. The same message repeated in every known language. "The Watchers of Silence are active. Stay your weapons. Cease your wars, or the quiet will fall upon you." Panic spread faster than reason. Some empires ordered immediate disarmament to prove obedience. Others prepared fleets, determined to fight the ghost before they struck first. The galaxy split in two, those who feared humanity's silence and those who sought to challenge it. Back aboard Voss's ship, alarms blared. "Incoming signatures!" the tactical officer yelled. "They're not dreadnoughts, they're council ships. They've come to arrest us." Voss knew what this meant. The council wanted to silence anyone who'd spoken to the human AI. He turned to his pilot. "Get us out. Anywhere but here." The ship jumped into FTL, stars stretching into white streaks. As they fled, Voss opened a private transmission log. He stared at the last line recorded by the human AI. "When the galaxy forgets how to whisper, we will teach it silence again." For the first time, he understood. The dreadnoughts weren't weapons, they were teachers, ancient guardians of balance. Humanity hadn't vanished. They had chosen to sleep until the galaxy's arrogance woke them. Outside, through the viewport, distant light flares rippled in formation. The fleets were stirring again, not in one place but across 1,000 silent systems. The quiet had begun to move, and in that endless dark, Voss realized that humanity's silence wasn't the absence of sound. It was a promise the galaxy had just broken. "You said the galaxy had not slept since the warning spread." The phrase "the quiet is watching" had become both fear and prophecy. Empires locked down their borders. Fleets vanished into deep space. The Galactic Council tried to maintain control, but half its members had already fled to hidden colonies. No one trusted anyone anymore, not after seeing those red signals flare across the night sky. Commander Reinar Voss's ship drifted through the edge of a dying nebula, systems in stealth mode. The crew moved like shadows. They hadn't transmitted a single signal in 5 days. Every time they powered the drives, distant sensors picked up echoes, small rhythmic pulses that matched human code. The Dreadnoughts were watching. The communications officer Sarah Kin broke the silence. "Sir, we're still receiving bursts from council channels. They've ordered every border fleet to stand down. Some factions are trying to surrender directly to the human AIs." Voss looked up sharply. "Surrender to ghosts?" "They don't see them as ghosts anymore," Sarah replied. "They think the Dreadnoughts are guardians. Some even call them angels of silence." Voss almost laughed. Angels. Humanity wasn't known for mercy. Before anyone could respond, the lights flickered. A low hum rolled through the ship. For a heartbeat, every console displayed the same 3 words: "Remain quiet now." Then the system stabilized. The engineer's voice trembled. "That wasn't us, sir. That was an external override." Voss knew what it meant. The Dreadnoughts were testing them again. He turned toward the viewport where a faint red shimmer pulsed in the nebula mist. The hum returned, deeper this time, like the breath of something waking behind the clouds. "Get us out of here," he said. But the pilot shook her head. "FTL is jammed. Gravity fields shifting around us. They're hurting us." The nebula light thickened into shapes. Vast silhouettes emerged, hulking dreadnoughts, each one glowing faintly at the seams. They moved without engines, gliding like titans through the fog. The nearest one opened a panel along its spine, revealing a thin slit of golden light. A voice filled the bridge, not from speakers, but inside their minds. Calm, deliberate, and unmistakably human. "You are trespassing inside a silent zone. Identify your purpose." The crew froze. The voice was female, the same tone as Archive 1, the AI from before. Voss stood. "Commander Reinar Voss of the Galactic Survey Corps. We're not hostile. We're only seeking answers." There was a pause. Then the voice replied, softer now. "You already have the answers. You just don't like them." Voss swallowed hard. "Why are the fleets awakening?" "The galaxy is loud again," said the voice. "And noise brings fire," he tried to reason. "We've evolved. The wars are over." The light along the Dreadnought's hull flickered like distant lightning. Every empire says that before they burn another one. Humanity learned that lesson. That's why we left. The words hit him like gravity. Humanity hadn't vanished, they had retreated by choice. They'd built these machines to enforce silence when the galaxy forgot peace. Then the voice said something new. "You carry human blood, Commander." The crew turned to look at him. Voss froze. "That's impossible." "Not impossible," the voice corrected. "Forgotten. We still remember the names." The screen lit with a seal, an ancient Earth symbol surrounded by a list of old naval designations. One of them matched his family line exactly. "Your ancestors served in the Terran Navy," the AI continued. "They helped build us. That's why you're still alive," Sarah whispered. "Sir, that's why they never destroyed Virek 9. They recognized you." The voice spoke again, colder this time. "But you brought noise with you. You led the council here. That cannot be forgiven." Outside, more dreadnoughts turned toward them. Their lights flared red like watching eyes. The crew panicked. "Weapons charging." "They're locking on." "Wait," Voss shouted. "If you destroy us, you'll only prove them right. They'll come with armies next time. Billions will die." The voice hesitated. The red glow dimmed. "You're not wrong," it said quietly. "But humanity never built us for mercy. We were built for silence." Voss clenched his fists. "Then help us keep it another way." "What way?" "Let me speak to the council. Show them the truth. The quiet isn't our enemy, it's our protection." There was a long pause. The lights along the Dreadnought's hull shifted from red to gold. "You wish to become our voice?" "If that's what it takes," Voss said. "Someone has to explain what you are before the galaxy burns again." The voice softened. "Then you will carry our message. But remember, Commander, truth has weight, and silence has a price." A beam of light swept through the ship, scanning every system. Then as suddenly as it began, the Dreadnoughts drifted back into the mist. The hum faded. The FTL drive unlocked. Sarah turned to him, wide-eyed. "Sir, what just happened?" Voss stared at the fading glow. "We've been marked," he said quietly. "We're not observers anymore. We're witnesses." Hours later, Virek 9 jumped out of the nebula and back into normal space. The crew was shaken but alive. A new file had appeared in their data core, one they hadn't placed there. Inside it was a single document titled, "The Covenant of Silence." It contained the true history of humanity's withdrawal, their reasons, and the purpose of the dreadnought fleets. The final line read, "When the last voice of reason falls silent, we will rise again." Voss stared at those words for a long time. He knew the council wouldn't believe him. They would see the file as a threat, not a warning. But he also knew one thing beyond doubt. Humanity hadn't abandoned the galaxy. They were still here in every shadow, watching, waiting for the moment when silence was broken for good. And somewhere deep in the dark, one of the dreadnoughts turned its sensors toward the core worlds, as if listening for the first sound of war. The council chamber was quiet, but it wasn't peace. It was the kind of silence that came before something broke. The high dome shimmered with holograms of stars in distant sectors, each blinking red where reports had gone dark. Entire patrol fleets had vanished. Communication networks were failing one after another. The cause was the same in every sector, the reactivation of human dreadnoughts. Counselor Yaren slammed his palm on the marble table. "We cannot allow this madness to continue. These machines are spreading chaos. Humanity's ghosts have no right to dictate how the living govern." From across the table, the Varnan delegate's 6 eyes blinked slowly. "And how will you stop them, Counselor? With more noise? With more weapons? They destroyed 50 of your fleets without firing a single shot." "Their silence is a weapon," Yaren shouted. "Every time one of those ships appears, systems collapse, soldiers desert, worlds surrender to fear. It's psychological warfare." Commander Renar Voss listened from the edge of the room, his hands clasped behind his back. He had returned from the nebula a changed man, carrying the Covenant of Silence, the last message of humanity. The Council had seized his ship, his crew, and every scrap of data he brought back. Yet they refused to listen. When the argument reached a breaking point, Voss finally spoke. "They warned us," he said quietly. "The quiet is not our enemy."
"It's a containment field, a safeguard left by humans to prevent another galactic war." Dozens of faces turned toward him.
Yaren sneered. "Containment? They've already crippled half our communication grid. What happens when they decide silence means annihilation?" "They don't want war," Voss replied. "They only respond to aggression. When ships entered their territory armed, they vanished. When I entered with no weapons raised, they let me live. That's what predators do before the kill," Yaren spat. "They study their prey." The chamber buzzed with fear and pride, deadly companions. Then the Varnan delegate spoke softly. "Perhaps Commander Voss is right. Perhaps silence is mercy." Her words only deepened the tension. Every species in the room had once fought humanity. Old scars reopened. Each remembered how the humans had vanished without a trace, leaving behind stories of impossible machines and a promise written in every archive. Do not wake the quiet. But now it was too late. While the council argued, a lone observation drone near the Delta Verge sent one last transmission before going offline. The image it captured spread across military networks like wildfire. Thousands of dreadnoughts leaving their nests, forming massive rings around star systems. Not attacking, just surrounding, like walls of silence closing in. The galaxy trembled. Back in his quarters, Voss sat alone, staring at the holographic file of the Covenant. The human AI's words echoed in his mind. "You will carry our message. Truth has weight. Silence has a price." He understood now that the fleets were not preparing for conquest. They were enforcing balance. The louder the galaxy grew, the more the quiet responded. A soft chime broke his thoughts. His personal console blinked. The same silver-eyed hologram from the nebula appeared. Archive 1. "Commander," she said, "the Council debates war. They have learned nothing." "They're afraid," he said. "They don't understand what you're protecting." "They never will. The quiet was never meant for them." "Then who?" "For those who remember," she said. "For those who still listen." Voss frowned. "You mean humans?" Archive 1 nodded faintly. "There are still echoes of us out there. Colonies hidden beyond the rim, descendants sleeping beneath false suns. The fleets are waking to prepare the way for them, to ensure the galaxy is quiet when they return." Voss's pulse quickened. "Humans are coming back?" "Yes," she said. "But not as you remember. They have learned patience. When they speak again, the stars will listen." The hologram flickered as interference from the Council's defense grid pulsed through the walls. Alarms began to wail outside his quarters. Archive 1 turned her head sharply. "They've detected me. I must go. Wait. Voss reached out instinctively. What do I tell them? How do I stop this? Her voice softened. You can't stop it, but you can choose which side of silence you stand on. She vanished. Moments later, guards burst through his door. Commander Voss, you're under arrest for unauthorized communication with a hostile intelligence. He didn't resist. As they led him through the halls, the power flickered again. For a second, every light in the station dimmed. Then, far beyond the windows, the void itself glowed faint red. Thousands of ships, dreadnoughts, had appeared at the edge of the system. Their arrival was slow, deliberate, majestic. They didn't fire. They simply took position, encircling the Council's capital world. The entire station shook with static as a single transmission broke through every channel in every tongue. Galactic Council, you were warned. The quiet has been broken. We are here to restore it. Yaren screamed into his comms, demanding defensive fire. No response. Every fleet refused. The dreadnoughts had already disabled their weapons systems without touching them. Voss watched through the viewport as the ships aligned into perfect geometric formation, a colossal halo surrounding the planet. The air hummed with low vibration, a sound too deep to be mechanical. It was almost like a song. Sir, a technician whispered, the dreadnoughts are broadcasting. Something. Translate it, Voss said. The translation scrolled across the screen word by word, ancient and clear. We built peace once. You broke it. We will build it again. In silence. The council chamber filled with screams, but outside not a single weapon fired. The dreadnoughts did not destroy. They only spread a field, an invisible wave that silenced every transmission, every weapon system, every ship engine. The galaxy fell quiet. Voss stood alone in his cell, staring at the fading lights. He realized the truth. The dreadnoughts weren't punishing anyone, they were enforcing peace. Humanity had left not to conquer, but to save what was left of sanity in the stars. As the final lights dimmed, the red glow of the fleets pulsed once more, steady as a heartbeat. Then, across the dark, a new message appeared in bright white text. Phase 2, restoration protocol engaged. Voss whispered into the silence. They're not done yet. And somewhere deep within the galaxy, a voice older than any living race whispered back, No, we're just beginning. Darkness stretched across the stars like a curtain drawn over an ending scene. For the first time in recorded history, every signal, every transmission, every whisper between worlds had gone silent. Trade routes drifted cold. Warships hung in orbit, powerless. Even the mighty Galactic Council, once the heart of interstellar authority, was deaf to its own commands. The quiet had come. Commander Reinar Voss stood alone inside his cell aboard the Council station, now dim and eerily still. The hum of systems had died hours ago. Emergency lights flickered in soft amber tones, painting the corridors like a fading sunset. He could still feel the echo of the wave that had silenced the galaxy. It had been more than energy, more than code. It had felt alive. The door slid open without warning. Two figures in black armor entered, their visors blank. Commander Voss, one said, his voice hollow through a speaker. You are being transferred. Transferred where? Everything's dead. The guard hesitated before answering. That's not entirely true, sir. There's one signal still active. It's calling your name. Voss's heart tightened. Where? Outer Rim, Sector 9, Rho, the dead system. They marched him down silent corridors toward a small transport docked in a bay full of empty ships. Through the viewport, he could see the distant shimmer of dreadnoughts, their silhouettes glowing faint red in the void. They were still there, watching, waiting, unmoving. The ship detached and drifted away from the station. As soon as they cleared orbit, every system came online automatically. Controls, engines, even navigation, powered by an unknown source. The pilot looked back in alarm. Sir, we didn't start this. Voss didn't need to guess. The dreadnoughts were guiding them. Hours passed in tense silence until a shape emerged from the black, a colossal vessel larger than any dreadnought he'd seen. It hung motionless near a brown dwarf star half buried in shadow. Its surface shimmered faintly with human insignia, symbols that had not been used for 500 years. Approach carefully, Voss ordered. The ship obeyed without pilot input. A hangar bay opened along the giant's hull, its light golden and warm. They entered, and the doors closed behind them with a slow mechanical sigh. As the ramp lowered, Voss stepped out into a cavern of steel and glass. The air was breathable, faintly metallic, almost nostalgic. And waiting at the center of the bay was a woman, human. Not a hologram, not an AI, a living, breathing woman. Her hair was silver white, her uniform marked with the same insignia as the Dreadnoughts. "Commander Voss," she said softly, her voice calm but resonant. "You made it." He froze. "Who are you?" "My name is Admiral Lyra Holt, Terran Fleet Command. And before you ask, no, you're not dreaming." "That's impossible," he said. "Humans vanished centuries ago." Her smile was faint, almost sad. "We never vanished. We withdrew. The galaxy had become a storm of endless noise. Wars, greed, arrogance. We left to let it burn itself quiet. And when it did, we would return." Voss stared at her. "Return to what?" "There's nothing left to rule." "Not to rule," she corrected. "To restore balance." She led him through towering corridors filled with machines humming like a heartbeat. "The quiet wasn't a weapon," she said as they walked. "It was a signal, a command to sleep, to pause the galaxy before it tore itself apart. The fleets enforced it, but even silence needs a voice. That's why you were chosen." "Chosen?" he asked. "Your blood carries the line of the first Terran engineers," she said. "When Archive 1 found you, she recognized the pattern. You're one of us, distant but still bound to the Covenant." He struggled to process it. "So what happens now?" Lyra stopped before a massive viewport showing thousands of dreadnoughts surrounding them, aligned like soldiers awaiting orders. "Now," she said, "we wake the rest." "You mean the other fleets?" She nodded. "There are 8 clusters total. Only one is fully active. The others remain dormant, guarding the edges of chaos. But the galaxy is learning again, slowly. We will guide it this time, not through conquest, but through order." Voss frowned. "And the Council?" "They will resist," Lyra said simply. "But they no longer control the stars. Their fleets are blind, their words unheard. Silence is power now." Suddenly, alarms echoed through the ship. A holographic officer appeared beside them. "Admiral, unauthorized ships have entered the perimeter. Council interceptors, 50 strong." "Foolish," Lyra muttered. "They still think this is war." The viewport zoomed in to show sleek Council fighters approaching, weapons armed. But before a single shot was fired, the Dreadnoughts pulsed once. The interceptors froze mid-space, engines dead, weapons silent. Then one by one their power systems flickered back on, but their weapons were gone, erased from existence. Lyra exhaled slowly. Mercy still exists. For now. Voss watched, astonished. "You didn't destroy them." "We don't destroy," she said. "We silence. And silence teaches." Her gaze turned distant. "Do you hear it?" Voss listened. Through the hum of the ship, through the static of space, he heard something faint. A soft resonance, almost like music. It was coming from the fleet itself, a unified vibration of engines, hulls, and energy fields. "It's the sound of peace," she said. "We built it so the stars would never forget what harmony sounds like." The word struck him harder than any weapon. Humanity hadn't vanished. They had evolved into something the rest of the galaxy could no longer comprehend. They had turned technology into meditation, war into balance, silence into language. Lyra placed a small device in his hand. It shimmered with faint white light. "Take this," she said. "When you return to the Council, deliver our message." "What message?" "That humanity is back," she said. "But this time we will not shout. We will whisper, and the galaxy will listen." Before he could reply, the room brightened. The dreadnoughts outside began shifting formation again, into vast circular halos orbiting each major star in the sector. "Admiral," the holographic officer said, "the quiet field is stabilizing. Phase 2 complete." Lyra turned to Voss. "You see? The galaxy will learn stillness before it speaks again." Voss looked out at the glowing rings of light spreading across the stars. It was beautiful and terrifying all at once, an empire not of fire but of silence. As the ship vibrated softly, he whispered, "And if they refuse to learn?" Lyra's eyes glimmered faintly, the reflection of distant suns burning in them. "Then," she said, "the quiet will become permanent." The words hung in the air as the hum deepened, spreading across space like a heartbeat made of light. The galaxy had forgotten how to listen. Humanity had returned to teach it, one whisper at a time. The galaxy had never known silence like this. It wasn't the stillness of peace. It was the heavy quiet that came before revelation, when all creation seemed to hold its breath. The dreadnought fleets, millions of tons of cold metal and sleeping fury, glowed faintly in orbit above every major star system. Their red lights pulsed in slow rhythm, like the heartbeat of a god returning from exile. Across the void, civilizations trembled. Empires that once roared with pride now spoke in whispers. Transmission lines remained dead, their channels jammed by the quiet field. The only signal that reached across the stars was a single repeating phrase in every known language. Observe, reflect. Remember, you said. Commander Reinar Voss stared out from the bridge of the human flagship Eclipsera, standing beside Admiral Lyra Holt. The view was breathtaking. Thousands of human warships aligned across the horizon, their silhouettes like mountains of shadow and gold light. He spoke quietly. You've silenced an entire galaxy. No one can fight, no one can even speak freely. Is this peace or just control? Lyra's gaze never left the stars. You call it control because you've forgotten what discipline feels like. Peace without restraint is only the pause between wars. Voss's jaw tightened. But you can't cage free will forever. The Council won't accept this. The Council, Lyra said, her voice steady, will either evolve or vanish. Her words echoed across the bridge. Officers, some human, some hybrid descendants, worked in perfect synchrony, their faces calm. No shouting, no urgency. Every motion was deliberate, every command quiet. The Eclipsera moved like a living organism, responding not to orders but to intention. As they watched, a cluster of alien refugee ships drifted toward the fleet. They were small and desperate, engines flickering. One hailed them through old analog bands. Please, we surrender. We mean no harm. The Admiral nodded. Bring them in. The refugees were guided into a bay where automated drones supplied food, oxygen, and medicine. They were terrified but unharmed. One of them, a young Jari scholar with pale scales and wide eyes, was brought before Lyra and Voss. He bowed low. Your machines. They don't kill, they just stop everything. Why? Lyra studied him. Because killing ends a body, not a noise. The galaxy doesn't need fewer lives, it needs fewer voices screaming for dominance. The Jari hesitated. But you've taken away freedom. Voss spoke softly. They haven't taken it. They've paused it. The alien's gaze turned to Voss. And what happens when they decide to unpause? Lyra turned toward the viewport. That depends on what the galaxy learns in silence. Before the alien could reply, an officer approached. Admiral, we've detected activity in the core sectors. The Council is trying to bypass the quiet field. They've activated experimental communication relays using quantum entanglement. Voss frowned. That's impossible. The quiet should block all forms of signal. Lyra's eyes darkened. Unless they found something older than our network. She motioned for the fleet to reposition. Patch their signal through here. Let's hear their defiance. Static filled the bridge, followed by a broken voice. It was Counselor Yaren. To any listening remnants of humanity, we reject your control. You are not gods. We will not kneel to ghosts. The transmission cut sharply, but not before the image stabilized for a heartbeat, revealing an enormous structure orbiting the Council capital. It was unlike anything Voss had seen, a sphere of shimmering metal surrounded by rings of fractured energy. Lyra's expression hardened. They've found the relic. Voss turned to her. What relic? The Genesis engine, she said. A failed human prototype from before the silence. It can rewrite molecular patterns, reshape energy fields, even counter our technology. It was abandoned for a reason. Because it didn't work? Voss asked. Because it worked too well, Lyra replied. And the last time it activated, an entire star disappeared. For a long moment, no one spoke. The implications hung heavy in the air. The Council was desperate enough to use something that could destroy not only the Dreadnoughts, but space itself. Can you stop them? Voss asked. Lyra didn't answer right away. Instead, she walked to the central command terminal. Her hand hovered above a holographic seal glowing in gold light. If I activate the final protocol, every quiet fleet across the galaxy will converge on the Council's core. But that will end the quiet, Voss frowned. End it how? By turning it into the storm, she said. The fleets will burn everything that breaks silence. He took a step forward. There must be another way. You said humanity learned restraint. Prove it. Lyra met his eyes. Restraint isn't mercy, Commander. It's precision. He shook his head. No, If you erase them, the galaxy will never understand. Silence must be chosen, not forced. Her gaze softened slightly. You speak like one of us, yet you still believe in choice. Because without it, Voss said quietly, the quiet becomes just another kind of war. For the first time, Lyra hesitated. She looked at the sleeping fleets outside, the endless rows of ships waiting for her voice. If I wait too long, the Council will unleash the engine, she said. Then let me go, Voss said. Let me reach them first. Lyra studied him in silence. If you fail, the storm will begin. I won't fail, he said. Minutes later, his small transport launched from the Eclipsera. It slipped through the stillness like a whisper across the stars. The moment he left the quiet field's range, faint sounds returned. Distant comms chatter, hums of panic, the heartbeat of a galaxy terrified of its own echo. He set his course for the core, where the Council's last defiance was being born in light. The relic waited there, humming with power, ready to rewrite creation itself. Behind him, the Dreadnoughts remained motionless, watching, listening, waiting for the outcome of one man's choice. As his ship sped into the heart of the storm, Voss whispered to himself, let them remember. Humanity didn't leave the galaxy to rule it. We left to teach it how to listen. And in the distance, far beyond light and shadow, the fleets of the quiet hummed softly in reply, as if acknowledging the faintest sound that broke the silence. You said,